they did not conform to the criterion that he had always laid down, that anybody who goes to the House of Lords has to work there. I find it inconceivable that somebody who in the two general elections of 1974 was supporting the Conservative Party financially should appear in the list of a retiring Prime Minister.
You're talking about Sir James Goldsmith?
Sir James Goldsmith, yeah.
Well, now,
no disrespect to him, but
yes.
he should never have had it.
No, but you also may appear to make some other implications, because, for instance, you mentioned Sir Professor John Vasey, the economist, whom you describe as having been a trenchant critic of Harold Wilson, but, you say, he helped Lady Falkner find a public school for her sons. Now, are you suggesting that this had something to do with why Professor Vasey became Lord Vasey?
I think that he became Lord Vasey principally because he was a friend of Lady Falkner's.
Do you also quote Harold Wilson as saying that Jimmy Goldsmith, whom you've just mentioned, intended to offer Lady Falkner a directorship of Cavenham Foods Limited. Now, that is denied by both Goldsmith and Marcia.
Well, I can only say that it was told to me and a number of other people who I'm sure, if they were questioned, I don't wish to involve them because it included civil servants, would remember the conversation.
But is it your suggestion, in spite of the denials, that this may have had something to do with why Goldsmith became Sir James?
Now, what I said in the book was that Goldsmith's admiration, or Marcia's admiration for Goldsmith, was reciprocated. And yes, Goldsmith had an admiration for Marcia.
Yes, but you also tell the story about the directorship.
Exactly, it was reciprocated, and he thought her good enough to offer her a directorship.
But why do you mention that if it doesn't in some way imply that it had something to do with his honour?
Because if you're suggesting that I am saying that he was being given an honour because he was going to give Marcia a job, I'm not saying that.
I'm asking you if you are suggesting that.
No, I'm not suggesting that.
Well, then why mention the purported offer of the directorship?
Because the point really is that I think he was better known to Marcia than he was to Harold Wilson.
Do you think the honours scrutiny system is adequate?
No.
Would you like to see an inquiry into this last list or other lists?
No, but if you read the honours chapter in its entirety, you will see that what I'm arguing is that the question of the disbursement of patronage through the honours list should be taken away from the Prime Minister altogether.
Could I ask you a general point, in view of all the implications in your chapter and the rest of the book? Are you suggesting that there was some kind of corruption in connection with this list or any other list in your time?
No, corruption, Robin, is a word that I would not use. It is a very emotive and difficult word to use, and I'm not suggesting it, no.
Would you there was a nasty smell in your nostrils?
No, I think I would say that I was disturbed by some of the people who received honours, and I would sooner use the word frivolity.
That honours list, now, when Lady Falkner, who was a political secretary, would know her master's mind, wrote some names on her lavender-coloured notepaper.
Which was first denied. Yeah.
What?
Which was first denied.
Well, was there anything wrong in that, or any secret abuse of power?
I believe that the list, the original list, which was the one from which the normal processes of inquiry, which go on with every list, I believe that that list was drawn up by her as well as written out by her. Well, there were certain amendments which I wouldn't go into.
But you concede in your book that Mr. Wilson did make some amendments, deletions and additions. Yes, therefore, the list became his in the end.
The list. I also say that the list had to be his. After all, he was the only one that had the right to submit it to the Queen.
But the basic point is this: are you telling us that the names which written by Lady Falkner on the lavender-coloured notepaper were in some way, by some power of hers, imposed on Mr. Wilson against his better judgment? Because that's what you're saying must mean.
Yeah, that basically is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Really? Had any of those on the resignation honours list made financial contribution to the upkeep of Harold Wilson's private office, the accounts of which you tell us were controlled by Lady Falkner?
I've no knowledge of any payments that were made into the political office. In the time I was at Downing Street, of course, my contact with the political office was peripheral.
Well, you do have knowledge of one, because you refer to an argument with Marcia about whether your London hotel expenses could be paid during the October 74 election.
That's right, yes.
And you say, quote, there was a sudden, unexpected donation to office funds from a wealthy supporter. Who was that?
I'm not prepared to say who I think that was.
Oh, I thought you put truth and disclosure before obligations of confidentiality.
No, I'm not prepared to say, Robin, and you can deduce what you like from that.
Was it someone who appeared subsequently on an honours list?
I'm not prepared to say, Robin.
How was the political office financed?
You would have to ask Lady Faulkner.
Do you have no idea?
I don't have a precise knowledge, and I don't wish to guess.
You're beginning to sound like a number 10 press officer again,
Yeah,
Joe.
well, I didn't do that very well.
Was it, wasn't it a bit odd, perhaps, or may it not be seen as odd, that the political office of the leader of the Labour Party and the Prime Minister should be financed in part by rich capitalists? Because that is what you're saying when you've got this donation, rather than from party or trade union funds?
Well, the party, of course, contributed something like $6,000 a year, which didn't even begin to meet the cost of the office. That's one of the problems. I don't doubt it's a problem for any Labour leader. There is simply no money available for the party. They can't even pay their debts to local parties.
But it does seem to be undesirable.
It's dreadfully undesirable.
For the very sensitive political office of the leader, this should be dependent on anything else except either public funds, if they happen to be available, or party and trade union.
Though I haven't included it in this book, I am in favour of the government paying for the upkeep of the leader of the opposition, whether it's Conservative or Labour, and in government making a substantial payment towards the maintenance of a political office.
According to Lady Faulkner, Sir Harold Wilson told the Queen that he was creating her a peer to make, quote, a Harvey Smith to the press following the land deal speculation business. Do you think that this was the Prime Minister's reason for making her a member of the upper house of Parliament?
I hadn't heard the particular Harvey Smith phrase, though I do think, yes, that was, I think it was a joint reason. I'm mildly surprised that Marcia was so reluctant to take it, but if she says that she was, I would have to accept it. But yes, certainly to cock a snook at Fleet Street was undoubtedly one of the motives. You
talk about Marcia's power that she wielded with the Prime Minister, but can you point to any important government policy or decision on which Marcia had a direct influence?
There's a
Do you say yes or no?
Let me tell you.
Sorry, I thought you said something first.
Well, then I wanted to draw a distinction, Robin, between governmental and prime ministerial decisions. Governmental decisions are taken by the Cabinet. I do not know of any instance where Marcia influenced a Cabinet decision. She may have discussed things with the Prime Minister, but then we all did, and that influence is indirect. Prime ministerial decisions...
Such as?
Such as the composition of a government.
Or appointing a Cabinet Minister?
Or appointing... that's what I mean, composition of a
Did
government.
Did she have influence on that?
Oh, yes, I mean, her knowledge was good, too, but
Can you give me an example?
No. Well, I can, but I'm not going to.
Why not?
I don't think that I ought to embarrass any particular minister by saying that he's either the nomination or not of Marcia. After all, no.
Yes, you were going on?
No, Robin, no. She may have been in favour of you being Director General of the BBC, is what I was going to say, but I didn't want to...
That is an appointment which has nothing else to do, nothing whatsoever to do with the Prime Minister.
But there's always
if I may remind you.
Always influence.
That's a matter for other people.
I'm taking you off the track.
Is it your judgment, Mr. Haines, that if she had no influence on government policy, as you have described, that her outrageous neurotic behaviour was an increasing strain on Harold Wilson to the detriment of his premiership and to the good government of the country?
Yes.
And yet you say Lady Faulkner has left no impact on public affairs whatsoever. I mean, how do you tie up these two statements?
I'm talking of public affairs in the...
policy sense?
In the policy sense, the Cabinet decision sense.
You quote a close friend of Harold Wilson as saying he will not go down in history as one of the great prime ministers, but if it had not been for that woman, he would have gone down as the greatest. Do you agree with that, Judge?
No. But I think he would have gone down as the most remarkable man of this century.
He wouldn't have gone down as greater than Churchill or Gladstone or...
Oh, I'm once talking of peacetime prime minister.
Oh, is one?
Well, I am, yes.
Who said that, by the way?
I'm not